Hello, Booktube. This is Michael, and I've just tried something different today, and that is because I've been reflecting a lot about my reading journey and my reading life. In particular, when it comes to blogging and when it comes to Booktube, I'm just trying to work out what I want to do, what I want to achieve, and I thought I would make a video to see if that will help me understand my thoughts and my thinking, and maybe to help me reflect and just to use it as an excuse to make a new video. I'm trying this on my laptop, and I don't normally record on my laptop, but I thought I would give it a go because I recently upgraded to a new MacBook and I wanted to test it out. I wanted to basically do something that required less effort, and I thought this would be a good way to test it out. So that's why I have a different background, that's why I have different picture quality, and this isn't my house. I am actually house sitting for my parents while they are away. 10 years ago, I started my reading journey. I started with a book called Hey Nietzsche, Leave Them Kids Alone, and I've talked about this book quite frequently, so I won't go into it too much, but basically it is a book that explores modern rock music and links it to literary trends of the past, and in particular emo music with the romantic era, the rock stars of the poetry era. I was really into music, so this kind of was a bridge into literature for me. I didn't really read throughout my childhood and during my time at school, which I kind of regret. I wish I knew my love of literature back then, because that would have been so useful. That would have been a great chance for me to read a lot. I didn't have many friends, so I spent a lot of time hanging out in the library but not reading and avoiding people. So skipping over all that, 10 years ago I discovered this book, and that led me to reading Frankenstein, because there was something about the book that just kind of set me down this rabbit hole. I wanted to know more. I wanted to explore this idea and explore literature. And the first book I read really from that was Frankenstein, and that really was the catalyst to my reading life and my passion for literature. And slowly I started to build this obsession, and for a long time I didn't know what I wanted to read. I didn't know what books were good, so I turned to the 1001 Books to Read Before You Die list as a way to find good literature and to explore literature in general. So I use this list as a way to really learn about myself and learn about my reading tastes, and as a way to make sure that I was reading literature that was considered great, because I didn't want to read bad literature. I didn't want to waste my time with books that I wasn't interested in. And there were books on that list that I didn't like. There was plenty of that. But it was a good way to explore different genres and redefine my taste and discover what I liked and what I didn't like. And that kind of led me to a blog that I started. I had my own blog, which was Knowledge Lost, for 10 years now, and I started a book blog because basically I wanted to get reading arcs and I wanted to be part of the blogging community. It was huge back then and I wanted to be a part of that, so I started a blog called Literary Explorations, where I was basically trying to discover different books in different genres and explore the different genres, with the idea that there's got to be good books in every genre. And that kind of led me down the path of being a literary explorer and trying everything and discovering more about myself rather than the literature. But it was a journey into literature, and there was plenty of growth because of that. I love the pulp novels. I love like Raymond Chandler and Jim Thompson, and I kind of really drew to that. But there was a lot to explore, and being a literary explorer kind of led me to this place where I was willing to try books in all different genres. But in the back of my mind, I always had this idea that I was going to complete the 1001 Books list. I was going to read every book on that list, and it felt like a life goal. And while that would be awesome to achieve, I know now that my literary taste has definitely gotten to a point where I know what I like or what I don't like. I know what interests me, and part of that journey was my spreadsheet, which I keep. It tracks all my books that I've read since 2009, so it's got the 10 years worth of reading on it. This allowed me to run stats and realised I was reading about 95% American literature, and most of that was men. So it was a lot of dude bro literature going on there. And I knew I didn't want that. I knew I wanted to be more balanced. So I decided one year that I was going to make an effort to read more translations, to read. I think I set it at 25% of my books be translated just for that year, just to see how it went. And I obviously started with the normal things like Haruki Murakami, and I even read Nazgard and stuff like that, just to be more of a literary explorer and just to make sure I had a more balanced reading life. It is weird to read 95% American literature when you self are not an American, and it felt too strange to let that stat stand. So eventually, going down that track, I discovered my love for translations and my love for translated literature, to the point now where my reading is about 93, 95% books in translation, and I could probably read 100% translations, but I never really want to achieve that because that would mean I would have to leave my in real life book club, and that would mean that I'd have to overlook books that interest me that are American or from the UK or Australia or any English speaking country. Books like Duck's Newberry Port, which could possibly be my favourite book of the year. It is definitely up there. I really enjoyed that book and I loved the month I spent reading that book. So I know what I like, and it's definitely a focus of mine. I definitely spend a lot of time trying to promote translated literature, and it has become a goal of mine to be more about exploring books in translation, exploring books around the world, reading the world basically, and part of that meant I promote a lot of translations. Recently, I got accused of excluding a lot of literature because of my niche of because I enjoy reading translations, and I really think that's kind of a misunderstanding and definitely more said as a way to try and insult me, which I think was kind of wrong. But I feel like exploring the world is one of the reasons I love literature is because I learn about the world. I learn about different people, different cultures, different opinions, and different experiences of life. And this is one of the reasons why I read a lot of books from around the world, because there are just so many different cultures, so many different experiences. And as I discovered from reading literature from all over the place, is that there are different methods of storytelling. The way Americans write stories is very different to the way UK people write, and the Australians write, and the Japanese write, or people from South America. There's a lot of cultural impact in their way we tell stories, and I love that. I think this is one of the main reasons I love translations. Like, there's this feeling I get when I read American books that it kind of too padded, like there's too much information that could be cut out of the books to make it shorter, to make it tighter. Not really an issue that I had with Duck's Newberry Port, but something like Stephen King has so much in it, and it feels like it's so unnecessary to be 1,000 words and it could be trimmed down. I know Haruki Murakami with 1Q84 had the same issue where there's just too much filler, and I really appreciate a more minimalist approach. I really appreciate a short, sharp story. There are times where you need to describe the scenery, to describe what's happening, but I know that I'm not drawn to books that have flowery descriptions and overused adjectives, and I like the short, sweet style. So I'm getting a bit off track, but I discovered my love for literature. I discovered my love for translations. This seems to be my niche and my focus, and I definitely want to do more to promote literature, do more to promote translations, help people understand that translations aren't that scary, they're not that different, they're just a different way to learn about the world and discover different cultures and people's experiences. So my focus is obviously translations, and this is kind of off track, but kind of to the point of this video, is while trying to do NaNoWriMo this year, I created a character that was really into complaining. He was a grumpy character. He complained a lot about the world of literature. He complained a lot about what he liked and didn't like about the literary scene, and kind of a reflection of myself in a way, but I was really playing on that real obsession with complaining and that idea that it could make someone go a little bit crazy just being so negative and being so angry at the world. But I'm not really a fiction writer, so I wasn't really achieving what I wanted to achieve in it, but I discovered while writing it that I really like criticism. I like to break down a book. I like to explore themes, maybe look at the theological or the philosophical elements of a book. I like to do that. So I definitely want to focus more, particularly in my writing, more critical essays rather than reviews, to look at different parts of a story and try and break it down to explore the different meanings that I've gotten out of it, to explore all that side of the book, and not necessarily just books. I just want to get better at being critical and analysing text or movies or music or whatever. And that's definitely an approach I want to take with my writing and with my blogging and maybe with my Booktube as well. I find it really difficult to be a part of the Booktube community because there aren't that many people reading books that I enjoy reading. There are a couple, and I really appreciate watching people that are passionate about literature. So there are some, but when you get that little bit of a disconnect, you kind of don't feel like making videos, and the longer you go without making videos, the more of a disconnect you have with the community. And there is lots of elements of the community that I really disagree with, and I think there are parts of the community that can be really toxic and really unhelpful to people, especially new people or people with different opinions. And I think part of that, my anger, is because I don't feel part of the community, because I don't watch it or don't make videos as much. So it is a vicious cycle of, if you don't make the videos, you start to feel disjointed from the community, or I do, and then it slowly spirals from there. I also don't feel happy with the content I created. I started doing these videos where I do kind of like wrap-ups or reading summaries of the books I have been reading. And that's been great because I like to talk about the books I've been reading, and I like to have a format where I felt a little free and I didn't have to do things a certain way, and I could just take the video in a direction where I wanted to take it, rather than, I'm just going to talk about these books that I'm currently reading, or I'm talking about books I read for the month, or doing a haul, or any of those things that are kind of standard Booktube things. But because I want to be better at critically analysing books, I need to do better at trying to talk about books. And one of the reasons I started Booktube was to get better at talking about books, to push myself in a direction that I knew I needed to be pushed. I am not very good at public speaking. I am very introverted, and doing these videos are a huge step out of my comfort zone. And I started making these videos because I wanted to push myself in a direction that I knew I needed to push to try and get better. And if I stay in my little comfort of just doing wrap-ups or doing these videos that are simple to make and not try to push myself, I'm not going to get better, and I then get disappointed with the content I'm making. That's my feelings towards Booktube. I want to be promoting translations, but I feel like there are not many people that read translations, so I feel a part of the community or disjointed from the community. At the same time, I feel like making videos about translations don't often get views, and I know I shouldn't care about the views, but when you're not finding videos about books you like to read, it makes it difficult to continue. It does, it really does. And at the same time, I still want to try and improve myself and try and push myself in ways that will help me improve my critical thinking, help me improve my ability to talk about books, help me to get better at articulating the way I feel about literature and break down the book in a way that will make me happy. So if I don't do this, I am not going to improve, but I still feel a lack of motivation to do it. So it's a hard balance to strike, and just making this rambling video, which kind of has pretty much talked me into making more YouTube videos and pushing myself in that way, because I definitely want to get better. And yet I'm still struggling with these feelings, and these are not new feelings. I've had a rocky past with Booktube, and I will admit it, and people are probably sick of me complaining about this struggle, but I definitely want to get better. I definitely want to be the kind of person that could break down a book and analyze it. I definitely need to be focusing probably on doing reviews, just because I'm focusing on one book and picking it apart. So maybe I will do more reviews. Maybe I will see how that goes and see where that takes me. And that's obviously going to mean that I need to put more effort in my videos. I need to plan out what I want to say, which is basically writing a review of a book, which I want to do for my blog anyway, and then maybe translating it onto Booktube and practicing my public speaking, practicing my articulation of books, and practicing being on camera. So I guess I have worked out what I need to do, and anyway, I hope this helps someone or is useful in any way to anyone else. But I thought I'd share my thoughts because it was just a way for me to try and understand my own brain and what to do going forward. But also it was an excuse to make a video, I guess, and even if it's just for me, maybe watching it, people might have ideas that might help me, or maybe it will help someone else. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to anyone in the comments that want to continue this conversation. Goodbye.